welcome. I see so many happy faces here. I like your smile. Who's also smiling here? I like your smile as well. I love everyone's smiles. Can everybody smile for me? Right. Thank you. It calms me down a bit. I'm a bit nervous actually. So again, welcome to Ecstatic Dance Ubud. No, we're not. If you've been living in Ubud, you probably should know there's a thing called ecstatic dance, but this is not it. So welcome to PechaKucha Night Ubud 34. Right. So first of all, my name is Tito, and I am the city holder of PechaKucha Night Ubud. I'm also the events manager of Hubud. I'll talk about it later, but this is not about it. So PechaKucha is a Japanese word. It means chit. So the format for tonight's presentation is pretty strict. So each speaker will have 20 slides, and for each slide is 20 seconds. So 6 minutes 40 for each presenter to present about their topic. It's a global event. It's happening all around the world, especially in Japan. And quick fact, today is our 5th anniversary. We've been doing this for 5 years, and as you may know or may not know, on this stage we have welcomed so many speakers. So 6 times 34 is 174. I don't know, my math is really bad. But we've welcomed that many speakers on stage. We've had a counselor here before, we had a writer, we had a yoga teacher, we've had as well a refugee, and we've also had a rapper. So he raps as well on stage. And they come from many nationalities, from States, even from North Korea, from Sudan, from Australia, Indonesia, and also from New Zealand. So many countries have been here, many nationalities, and tonight is even more special because we're very honored that Ubud Writers would like to partner with us, and we have 6 amazing writers and illustrators, and they are currently here in town for Ubud Writers and Readers Festival, and they will present also their topics tonight. Ubud Writers and Readers Festival. So who here knows about Ubud Writers? Are you here all in town for Ubud Writers Readers Festival? Not everyone, of course. But seriously, if you're in Ubud and you never hear about Ubud Writers Readers Festival, I don't know, you're doing something wrong here, because around town, there are discussions, panels, poetry slams, workshops, and also live music happening at this point as well. So please check out their website, UWRF.festival.com, to see the program for this week. And this special place, Betelnut has been our host in the past 5 years. As you can see, it's really beautiful. It's a gathering place. It serves great Asian cuisine. It also has a bar, so you can go and have drinks here. They hold performances, stating everything from films to music, dance, and also discussions. So I would recommend you to check out their Facebook because they have a lot of amazing events here. But please help me to thank Betelnut for being our Right. So I won't take more time. I will introduce you to the 16 speakers that we have tonight. So tonight we have Nila Tansil. Yay! Rachel Ann. Mark Mayer. Rizky. Paula Costa. And Trinity. Okay, you kind of need to level out your game. I don't really hear. Right, so let's go to the first speaker. Nila Tansil. Okay, well, it's ready. Nila Tansil is the founder of Taman Baca Ulangi. It is a non-profit organization that builds children's libraries in the remote areas in east of Indonesia. Nila is also the author of Lembar Pelangi, and she has received numerous awards, including being listed among EY's 10 Entrepreneurs of the Year in 2016 in the Social Entrepreneur category, and also Forbes Indonesia's 10 Inspiring Women in 2015. So please help me to welcome Nila Tansil.
Hi everyone. It's an honor to be here, and okay, I need this. Yeah, so I can see properly. So tonight I'm gonna talk about the art of giving. In 2009, I went to Myanmar for a solo trip for a month. And on my first day, I met 3 Buddhist monks. On the second day, I went trekking with them to Mount Chaitiu mountain. In one of those mornings, I saw an old monk carrying a bowl of morning alms. In Myanmar, the monks normally walk around and receive morning alms from the people. And there was a really simple house, thatch roof, and to my surprise, the owner of the house, old lady, she came out from the house and gave donation to the monk. And I was really shocked. Like, if you see the house, you would think that the family who live in that house would need to get donation, not the other way around. So I thought, wow, that was beautiful. A few meters after that, the monk was approached by kids, and he gave candy to each of the kids. Wow, so I learned the art of giving from that moment. My mom always says, when you have something, you have to give back to others. So from my first salary, I took a foster kid and I gave him scholarship until he finished university. One day he called me and said, Manila, I adopted a baby. I'm like, wow, that's big. Why? And then he said, it's my way of giving back to your kindness. So that is the art of giving. It's contagious. One act of giving inspires millions of acts of giving. In 2009, I also took a job as a communications consultant and was based in Labuan Bajo, the gateway to Komodo National Park. And living there in Flores Island, I saw a lot of kids didn't have access to books. And it makes me want to do something. I wanted to create libraries, but then I didn't have the courage to start. Until one day, a yacht captain came to me and asked me to be his translator, and went with him to a little village named Roe Village. And to my surprise, he gave a box of donation like this big, filled with pencils and toothbrush, toothpaste, frisbees, something that is very simple. But the local people received that box with like very happy, and they were so touched. And that was the moment for me when I thought, okay, I had to realize my dream. I had to start creating an NGO that builds children's libraries for the kids who live in remote areas in eastern Indonesia. So that's why I founded Taman Bacaan Pelangi, or Rainbow Reading Gardens. The objective is to instill the love of reading and provide access to kids who don't have access to books at all in those remote villages in eastern Indonesia. So started from a small library, it's child-friendly library located in primary schools. Now 7 years down the road, we have established 62 libraries across 15 islands, benefiting over 16,000 children, providing access to over 115,000 books, and trained more than 500 teachers. If I didn't meet that yacht captain, maybe this NGO wouldn't exist. So again, one act of giving inspires other people to do so. So I wrote Lembar-Lembar Pelangi, it's my book, hoping to inspire more people to contribute to Indonesia. And some of my readers contact me and say, hey Manila, after reading your book, I created libraries in my village. So I heard many stories like this, and I'm like, yay, finally. So why do we have to give back? One, to make an impact. Why not? If you could make an impact, then you should. Second, because it feels good. It really does. And I believe if we have something to give, it will make our life happier. So, what can I give? Of course, first thing that comes to your mind, money. But it's actually, there are more things beyond money that you can give. And a lot of people come to me and say, how can I help you? I want to be your volunteer, but I can't teach. Come on, stop making excuses. Because if you keep on making excuses, in the end, you end up not doing anything. So what if you don't have extra money, you can't teach? Does it mean, bye Nila, I don't want to have anything to do with you? No, wait a minute. You still can give your time, your energy, your talent. If you're really good, for example, in graphic design, you can help us create flyers, marketing collaterals. If you're really good at web designing, web programming, you can help revamp our website or other NGOs' website. And if you have a lot of network, you can be the connector. Connect us and connect the NGOs with your network who might also interested to help. And I also believe when we travel, we can give back to the local community. When I was in Laos, I volunteered. It wasn't planned, it just happened. I volunteered teaching English in a local school, and I became addicted to it. So, because I believe that when we travel, we can also make an impact to the local community where we travel, I created Travel Sparks. It's a social enterprise in travel focuses on arranging private trips to Komodo Island, Flores, and around, and it has volunteering part at the libraries that I founded. And the profit goes to support the Rainbow Reading Gardens, so it's more sustainable. So travelers who travel on a private tour with Travel Sparks, they have the chance to have direct interaction with the local people, learn about local culture and lifestyle, and also inspire the kids. Inspire them about your profession, about your country, about travel, stories that you've experienced. And that is, I think, will make your holiday more meaningful because you're making an impact. So I believe everybody can give back to the local community or to other people. Stop making excuses and let's start giving back, because one act of giving will inspire others people to do the same. Just like the old lady who gave donation to the monk, just like the monk who gave candies to the kids even though he just received donation, just like my foster kid who adopted a baby, and just like the yacht captain that inspired me to create my NGO that now benefit so many kids in Eastern Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you. It is really an honor to have you here on stage.
Thank you. It's an honor for me.
First, how is it going? Like, how do you feel after going first?
Why you took me? Well, you made me talk first.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we just picked, the random speaker like first. Right. So in this session we will open the stage for questions. So anyone, if you have any question, this is your chance. Does anyone have a question? Everybody's always shy. Oh, hi. We have a microphone over there.
Over here. Over there.
Also later, yeah. After this. Yeah. After this, we have one question here.
So, what is the hardest part about getting these libraries open? Right?
Anything difficult about opening all these libraries? What's the biggest challenge?
Several big challenges, because we chose the locations that are very remote, so it really takes a long time to reach the village, and like you have to go by plane and then by boat and then walk for 2 hours up hills and then another motorbike ride. So the distance is one, and it costs a lot of money to ship those books. And also another challenge is actually the local teachers, because the quality of the teachers in remote villages are not the same as the quality of teachers in big cities. And for some of the old teachers who are still conservative, they didn't want to look silly when they read books to the kids, because they still think that, oh, I have to look cool in front of my kids. But we acquired a library period in every class per week to go to the library for 1 hour. It's embedded into the school curriculum. And these teachers have to read aloud. And some of the old teachers, they didn't want to express themselves when they read books. So that is another challenge that, you have to do this, because when you read the book with expressions, with intonation, it makes the kids would fall in love with books more. So we really need to make them realize that storytelling is actually play a key part in creating the love of reading.
We have a question from there.
Hello. With your other NGO, the Travel Spark, you mentioned that people who are travelling can go and tell the children about what they do and try and inspire the children, I guess, to be maybe more educated in that person's field of work. What kind of people go and speak to the children?
All kinds of people, because the Travel Sparks is travel agent. It works like travel agent, but it has volunteering part, and all the profit goes to support the NGO. So we have clients from overseas, mostly clients for overseas or expats like you that live in Indonesia who also want to give back while they're holidaying. So we also have families who bring their kids because they want to teach the kids to have empathy. So we have all sort of people traveling with Travel Sparks, and it's a private tour, so it's not like an open trip. You go traveling with strangers. No, you will go traveling with your loved ones.
Thank you. One more question there? Thank you, Maureen.
Hi, it's very inspiring. When I was a kid, I hated books, and many kids also don't really like books unless they are comics. How do you encourage those kids to enjoy what they read, and what kind of books do you provide?
So all the books in Taman Bacaan Pelangi's libraries are children's story books, like from Tintin, Asterix, Obelix, like the books that I loved reading when I was a kid. So there's no school textbooks, because who in this room loves reading because of school textbooks? None, right? So we love reading because we read those children's story books, fairy tales, folk tales. Yeah, so these types of books that we provide. And how to instill the love of reading. Not only it comes in the school, like that's why we ask the teachers. It's embedded into the school curriculum that the teacher has to do a library period, but also parents also play an important role. My mom always read me book even when I couldn't read. So that's how I started falling in love with books. So parents also have to read books for the kids.
One last question here.
Hello. Thank you again. How do you get the books? And like in Indonesian or the language of that place?
So the books we prefer in Indonesian because bear in mind these are the kids who live in remote villages. There's not even electricity in their villages, not even access to fresh water. So let alone they speak English now. So we got books donation from people, and also we got sponsors from corporations, and we partner with international NGO like Room to Read, and some people also sponsored a library, one library or two. We got a lot of support from everyone. And also like because we have a lot of expats friends like you, they donated their English novels, and we do book sale. Charity book sale from, so those novels we sell again, and we use the money to buy children's storybooks. We do everything, trying hard to provide more books and more libraries for the kids.
So you're here in Ubud for Ubud Writers Readers Festival. Are you doing any program?
Yeah, I'll be speaking on Sunday, the 29th, on a session about Meet the Founders.
And where is it?
In Taman Baca.
Yeah. Right. So it's a founders on Sunday.
Yeah.
What time?
I think it's the second or the first. I don't remember. You can check in the program book.
Just wait there from the morning.
Yeah, and I have flyers about Travel Sparks in front, so you can.
Thank you, Mila.
Thank you, people. Thank you, everyone.
Live. Wasn't it good? Yeah. Excited for the second speaker. Before I continue, I just want to remind people who are sitting there, please don't fall. No, this is actually an announcement from the venue, so like be careful. We don't have any issues for that. Anyway, second speaker, Rachel Ang is a comic artist from Melbourne. She studied painting at the Victorian College of the Arts and Architecture at RMIT. Her work has been published by the Lifted Brow, Ladies of Leisure, and the Stella Prize. Rachel is art director of Pencil Ink. It's a magazine championing the work of Asian Australian writers and artists. At the moment, Rachel is working on a book of short graphic stories. So please give a warm welcome to Rachel Ang.
Hi, Peter.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Hi, everybody. Wow, I'm really honored to be here, and thank you for having me. What I'm going to show you is it's not actually indicative of what I normally do, but it's a dream diary actually that I've been keeping during the month of October. So I've been trying to, what I've done is I've carved out this space in my creative practice where I can be more loose, unedited, stream of consciousness, funny and nonsensical, which is stuff that I normally find quite difficult in writing my own fiction or in my other design work. So I think the best thing to do is to just show you. I hope you like it. A lot of it is a bit long, so you'll have to read very quickly, or I can send it to you after if you like. Strange dream. I was going to give a talk at Fed Square. The lights were blinding, and as my eyes adjusted, I realized my ex-lovers were all in the front row. And they yelled nasty things at me. I ran outside to find Flinders Street completely flooded. Strange dream. Hands of wool, or maybe mold. Scrape it off. Underneath, there's nothing but stumps. What does this mean? Dream of anxiety. Maybe I think that I'm good at my job, but my peers are just humouring me. Maybe I think I'm quite funny, but all my friends are pretending to laugh at my jokes. Maybe I'm the kind of person who seems attractive from far away, but upon closer acquaintance is actually quite ugly. Strange dream. I am named ambassador for bisexuals. I guess I am honoured to be in the ranks of Angelina Jolie and Shakespeare. My duties are more wholesome than you'd think. We have an annual Bisexuals and their Pets picnic. For some reason, all bisexuals are cat people. Mostly I get asked confusing and personal questions. Strange dream. I was walking home late at night and a guy on a bike rode past me. He was wearing a high-vis jacket, a helmet, but no pants. His butt was so pale, it glowed in the moonlight. He did a loop and cycled back to flash me the front. But instead of privates, he just had a perfect replica of my face. It said, hello. Strange dream. Being broke, I take a job that I hate, writing poems for Hallmark. I am unexpectedly good at this and become a breakout star. I am hailed as the next Ruby Core. Crowds flock to my house to beg me for self-help aphorisms. I take refuge in my room. My housemates help keep me alive by passing me flat foodstuffs. Strange dream. I am euphorically stoned on the couch next to my housemate. I feel my mind being pulled out like a pearl on a thread. I leave my body and float up to the ceiling, but I am drawn back towards myself. I make love to myself. This is the purest thing that has ever happened to me. I will spend the rest of my life trying to know this feeling. Nice dream. Every feeling that was abstract now has a name. Self-respect. Liking someone more every day. Confusion, which is pleasant. Confusion, which is painful. Anxiety. Unrequited love. Dream of drawing. I draw myself into being. Drawing as thinking. Drawing as sensual. In an ideal world, you see me as I truly am, and not just my physical form. Perhaps in a clearer light than I can see myself. You see that my dark shadows are cast by a white-hot flame. In this impossible world, you are not scared of the flame. It draws you closer. Nature dream. When you are near me, you become a moon to the dark oceans of blood within me. You summon their tides, froth and foam, in and out. Tidal dream. Hold me close, let me go. Hold me close, let me go. Hold me close, hold me close. Strange dream. You came in my room and closed the window. I miss you so much. Night after night in my dreams, I'm a starved, desperate cat. I roam an empty city, hungry for you. I wait for you at the pale blue horizon, wild sadness. Strange dream, most of them pretty strange. We were both naked, trying to hold a spider between us. Scary dream. Commitment. Now I need to stand here for the rest of the 20 seconds to get this fucking slide. Various hungry beasts. I need to be known and I want to know others. I need to make good things. I need to be okay in my own skin. I need to know myself. I need security. I need strong love. Shrinking dream. I have lost an inch off my waist in a week. At this rate, hopefully I won't exist by Christmas. I dream that I am back in Denmark. I am walking through a deep birch forest which has been embraced by pure white snow. Something bright red catches my eye. It is the body of a bird which has been torn apart so recently that the bloody red heart is giving off a tiny plume of steam. I realise that I don't know where I am. Dusk has fallen and the temperature has plummeted. Whoops! Long night dream. I am walking through a small village I have never been in before. Turning down a lane, I see my parents' house has been transported to this quiet street in the north of England. The lights are on. I look in the windows, but I can't bring myself to go in and talk to them. I must have stayed there watching for hours. As I walk away, day breaks very quickly. I realise that it has been night time for many weeks now.
Those were beautiful dreams. I'm really jealous, actually. My dreams are really bad. Like, I'm stuck on Ubud Raya the whole time, and that's probably going to be my presentation and stuff. But really, well, really cool. Anyone has a question? Okay, I have a question. What conclusion do you draw after drawing all these dreams?
Yeah, it's weird. So I get up in the morning, it's the first thing I do, I draw my dream, and I try to just do it without editing it or thinking about it. But, well, firstly, like, you know, I tell other people, this is what my dream was, and they're just like, so I think that maybe my subconscious is like the best writer, they're much smarter than my conscious mind, which is always trying to fix things and put things together in a way that fits.
I heard someone has a question upstairs. No? Yeah? Oh, here. Sorry.
How long a dream diary do you have?
Well,
Any?
I guess I've been, there's 20 and I've been keeping this throughout October. So I thought that I would do it for a month, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like, it's, even if other people don't like it, it's very entertaining for me. So I might just do it indefinitely or until I think of another project to occupy myself with.
So, question there? Huh? Oh, wait, there's one thing afterwards.
Have you tried to interpret your dreams?
Yeah, well, this is the first time actually that, in front of all of you, that I have kind of looked at them all together, and I think what I see is that there's kind of two main kinds of dream. One is the weird trip, and one is, I mean travel, by the way, and one is just like deep introspection. So and I was saying to someone earlier that it's not autobiographical, but obviously a lot of what I'm feeling at the time has come through. And I think, so I've been traveling a lot this month. I've come from the UK from another writers festival, and so I think like when you travel a lot, your sleeping patterns are all messed up, and I think I've just been in a weird headspace, and this is how it's come out. Yeah. Does that answer the question? You want more? Well, I think like there are main themes of getting lost and of being anxious, and like I'm not sure how much more interpretation to put into that, but I think I'm maybe just a lost, anxious personality.
One last question from there.
I'm really jealous because I never dream. And I just want to ask you, do you dream every night?
Yes, so almost every night. So some nights I have to skip because I haven't had a good dream, but also some of them are mashed up things of things that have actually happened to me. Okay, so the guy who flashed me on the bicycle, that really happened. I mean, obviously not his crotch didn't say hello to me in the way that I drew it, but so some of it is taken from my real life, and that's how dreams work. Like the grammar of dreams is that, you know, it's things from your real life kind of smashed together. But you can actually train yourself to remember your dreams, because everybody dreams, so it's a matter of, when you wake up in the morning, just write down your first thoughts, and once you get into a discipline of it, it became quite easy, yeah.
I think I'm going to try to work on my dreams as well. Actually, I think a lot of people are really interested to know about this practice, but I don't think this is the night for that. Anyways,
thank you very much.
Okay,
Yes,
one last
yes,
question
yeah.
then. Right.
Have you
You can tell.
have you looked in?
I'm pretty scared to do that. Yeah, I think so. I think that'd be really interesting, especially once I've done quite a lot. Like it'd be interesting to have a body of data from which to draw, and then you'd have real kind of analysis. So maybe I should just do 100 dreams and see what happens, and then I'll do a like Freudian analysis. Yeah.
One more question.
Yes.
Thanks. Rachel, your drawings are amazing. Do you do something with drawing in your other life professionally?
Well, by training and my day job, I'm an architect. So, yeah, I guess I draw for a living.
Right, no more questions.
Yeah, thank you.
So we do want to know, you're here for Ubud Writers, so when is your session?
Oh yeah, so my sessions are, if you enjoyed this, I'm doing something very similar with a bunch of other Australian and international comic artists on Saturday. It's called Read to Me, and it's at Castle Luna next door, and like a lot of them are much weirder than me actually, so if you enjoyed this, I think you'll love that. And then on Saturday in the afternoon before that, I'm doing a panel discussion with Sunny Liu and Eki, who I think is here, and yeah, we're going to talk about comics, hopefully centering around this region, so it's going to be really interesting.
Right.
Please come.
Thank you, Rachel. So now we come to the third speaker, and that is Mark Nair. So Mark is a poet and photographer, and he was a recipient of the Singapore National Arts Council, or NAC, Young Artist Award in 2016. He has published 7 volumes of poetry and performs spoken word internationally for over 10 years. Mark was the 2016 and 17 NAC Writer in Residence, and is also the co-founder of Mackerel. It's a culture magazine. So please help me to welcome Mark Nair.
Before I begin, I'd just like to quickly preface my presentation by saying that it started because I was thinking a lot about how the role of the camera and how we take photographs has changed, especially in this digital age. So, here we go. What does a photograph mean to you? Is it a record of things, or a reflex action when we're faced with a sunset or maybe a sumptuous dessert? You know, our relationship with the camera has changed, and do we honestly want to capture something from memory, or do we need to validate every moment by taking photos? So look at this sunset behind. It looks spectacular. It's Mount Kelimutu in Flores. And what you don't see is all the people below that I've cropped out of the photo. So then, is it a true memory or some mediation of reality? Here's another one. This is a vignette of a street in Vietnam. It contains both chaos and order. It talks about advertising and uniforms and conversation. Would you consider this an act of making memory? Can memory exist purely from just a moment? Let's consider a correlation in poetry. Here's a poem of mine. It's called Punctum. The inner sanctum of Krishna's temple, empty of his doe-eyed presence, has become a darkroom of belief, a place to change rolls of film and wait for faith to develop against the briefest exposure. The title refers to a concept proposed by Roland Barthes, specifically when looking at a photograph. He proposes there are two elements that frame the photograph, the studium and the punctum. The studium is a general scene, like a post office, a classroom. The punctum is the moment that pricks, it rises up and shocks, just like that photograph above. And that moment is sometimes considered memory. But it might also be the starting point for other things that collectively make up a memory. My poem considers a particular moment at the intersection between belief and a way of apprehending the unattainable. The title then is ironic, because the punctum is never made visible. So what is a photograph if it's not memory? It's a position in time, it is out of time, it is a moment, it is not a moment, it is record, it is risk, it is important, it is nothing, it exists, it leaves. So you take a photograph, but you can also make a photograph. So what is the difference? To take, to appropriate, rightfully or not, to acquire and leave an absence behind, to make, to create, to invent what did not exist before. So the photograph is either an appropriation or an invention, or both. A combination of circumstances. You have the subject, you have the camera, you have the photographer, and you have the idea. It is the gap between what is seen in the eye of the photographer, what is observed, and what is realized in the image. The photographer is a composer. The photograph is composed. It is a composition. Now this is just intention, a frame. But in order to frame that, we must have a frame of reference. Maybe it could be a series of pre-images drawn from memory. So let me propose, perhaps the photograph is invented from existing memories. Consider how the photograph has always been divisible. Individual dots of grain that compose the image are the modern pixel. Up close, they degenerate into noise. But this is not the same correlation to ISO and film stock. Noise here is something wild, unrestrained. Here is the irony of the image. Seen from distance, it is sensible. And up close, meaning changes. Faces emerge from the mess. If we think about creation, the Big Bang, it follows that making is out of chaos. So, could memory operate likewise? Composition is integral to the photograph. Decomposition is integral to the state of memory. Things are always being forgotten. A photograph offers that false possibility that this is how things are, nicely framed and packaged. So, consider for a second as an example the centuries-old notion of the traveler. Exploring new spaces, empty mountains, distant forests. That was once true, but in today's world, the traveler queues for his spot on the ledge. And behind him are a crowd of people waiting patiently to make all their hashtag dreams come true. See, that's our frame of reference as 21st century travelers. We are searching for a unique experience in an age of flat cities. The urge is to make a new image, to add an incredible perspective to a global feed of memories that define both collective and individual consciousness. And memory is no longer the domain of private thought. Memory is public consumption. And our individual experiences, if not shared, are no longer valid or validated. We then lose our place in that conundrum to be unique, but also to be part of that whole. So what then is the value of making a photograph? Why select a particular frame? Why capture that scene over other scenes? In an age where the camera has turned inwards, cue Ellen's famous selfie, even the why of image making becomes redundant. The self is all-encompassing. According to Daniel Kahneman, we have two selves, an experiencing self who lives in the present moment, and a remembering self who keeps track of the story of our lives to help us make decisions. And this story is a highly selective and simplified account because we control the narrative. And perhaps the experiencing self takes photographs in an attempt to influence our story. Yet the remembering self must be selective. Just as highlighting everything you read won't help you remember things, taking photographs of everything we encounter won't help us remain conscious of our story. If everything is important, nothing is. So in conclusion, we have a vast repository of memories, experience, and raw material as our frames of reference. And when we next raise our camera, remember the eye before the frame, the ear before the field recorder, the nose before a jar of scent, the heart before making meaning, before making art. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark. So now it's your time to raise questions. Anyone? What do you feel about Instagram?
I have 3 accounts on Instagram. They serve different purposes. I'm very precise about what I take. For example, one account is for minimalist things, images, and my camera is always looking out. I don't look in. I don't really take photos of myself. And I normally accompany my images with a haiku. I've been doing this for about a year or so now. So I like the correlation between poetry and the photograph.
Okay, so what's your Instagram account again? What's your Instagram account?
Well, my name, Mount Naya, and Minimal Chasms, and the Culture magazine as well, Mackerel Stories.
Alright. Any question? Okay.
Yes, a question upstairs. Yeah, you can't see me, but I'm
first upstairs.
The photograph is not a memory, but do you find that sometimes the photograph kicks in the memory, and maybe there's a little contradiction as the memory tries to figure out that I saw, but that's not what I remember?
Are you talking about post-fact? Right. Well, I was also going for a slightly more controversial kind of title because I wanted people to ask questions. Now, but in reality, I think memory itself deserves an entire, I mean, people have written books about it. But I think what I was just trying to tease at is the way we access memory or invoke memory, or how perhaps the medium of photography has changed and it's no longer as representative of long-term memories. I mean, I read somewhere that people who take selfies don't really look at the selfies after that. They're only interested in the moment that they take a selfie. Because if you take a selfie, you can't really see context. It's just your face. That's, right? So.
This question from you.
Yes, hello.
How do you think this is affecting the psyche of this generation? The instant gratification of either food, photos, or selfies, and the impact on memory?
I think it numbs us. We grow so used to the idea of the feed, and there's a reason why it's called the feed. You know, we are all pigs at the trough of this constant virality and the need to consume. So much so that we do not stop to think about what we are consuming, why we are consuming it, and we are driven. And what happens then is what I am sure it's too new a phenomenon to perhaps document its effect on long-term memory and the way it affects our thinking processes. But certainly people get wired differently. They're wired for very short-term bursts, you know, sugar bursts. Basically, this is what it's doing. It's just creating very short spikes in our brain, and that's why we always feel the need to come back and check and check and check and refresh, but we never really get refreshed. So I'm very dark.
One last question. Upstairs? No one? If not, it's also cool. So you're here for Ubud Writers?
Yep.
When is your session? Where? And what is it about?
Tomorrow night I'm reading at Casa Luna, the Poets Club. That's at 9 p.m. And Saturday morning I'm on a panel talking about the role of ASEAN in literature in the region. And Saturday night I'll be at Poetry Slam. I think it's here as well. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Mark. Right, so what do you think so far? All right. So we still have 3 speakers, but the next one is a short commercial break from our sponsors because, of course, we have to pay bills. Not really, it's actually from my colleague from Hubud, and he will talk a bit more about Hubud. Please help me to welcome Kintan.
Hi everyone, welcome. First of all, I want to thank Ubud Writers and Readers Festival committee for letting us to do another collaboration in another year, so cheers for that. And as well, I want to thank all of you, single one of you, for being here and being fabulous, of course. And I need you to make some noise for our previous 3 speakers for sharing. And I promise you, we will have many speakers, so promise. So yes, so by the way, my name is Kintan, I'm the communications manager of Hubud. And I saw a lot of new faces actually, so I'm just going to give a quick introduction about Hubud. So basically, what is Hubud? Hubud is Bali's first co-working space, which is established in 2013 with 25 members at the very first month. And then after 4 years, 6,000 people from 80 plus countries has been going and visit us and join our community in Ubud. And I personally think Hubud is more than just a co-working space. It's also a place where these kind of people who constantly seeking to collaborate, to grow, to learn, to be productive, gather around, join the community. And therefore, to accommodate that, we make events as our DNA. That's why we have 430 events last year alone, and if you do the math right, it's more than 1 event per day. Yes, that sounds crazy, but we did it, so yes for that. And so basically, I want to introduce you to our upcoming events and programs. So first of all is I2E. So basically, I2E is idea to execution. It's a 6-day program where, and it's perfect for people who have this business idea in mind, but somehow never ever get it live. Sounds familiar here? Yes, I see some nods here. So yes, this is the right program for you. So we're gonna give you the right tools, we're gonna introduce you the right tools. You're gonna get facilitated by Aaron Machano, the great Aaron Machano, and also you will be gathered up with like-minded people, and you'll be at the end of the program, you'll be running your business life instead of running your business in your head. I created that for 5 minutes. So basically, it will be happening in 3 weeks, 20 to 25 November. We still have some slot left, but it's selling out fast. So if you want to join, get it on, right? And the next one is Startup Weekend. So yes, that is Steve. Where's Steve? wait, Steve. Yes, I'm pointing at you. So basically that's Steve, our founder of Hubud, and he's pointing at you to join Startup Weekend. So basically, what is Startup Weekend? It is an event where you can launch your business in 54 hours over the weekend. It sounds crazy, it sounds impossible. It's possible, trust me, and yes, it's crazy. I participated last year, and it was amazing, it was intense, but it was crazy and amazing. And basically, the next one will be happening in 17 to 19 November. This is the right place if you have this business idea going on in your mind, and you want to validate it, join us. Or if you just want to participate, even though you don't have that business idea, you can also participate. It will be fun, I promise. So book the date, 17 to 19 November, in 2 weeks, and we still have the mid-price ticket up till just this Saturday. So get to our website if you're interested. And besides Startup Weekend, we also have a special program for women. So I need your voice, women. Cheer up. Okay, so Ubud loves women and personal development. So that's why Women in Transition exists. So basically, it's a 6-day program where where we want to help women to get good at change, to go through change. We will be introducing them the right tool, various tools, and it will be facilitated by Renee. With excitement, please. Okay. So facilitated by Renee, and you will meet another women because change is better when they get together. So the next intake will be 12 to 18 November. We have one spot left, but if you're interested or you know anyone who's gonna go through change and probably this program is perfect for them, let them know about the date. And if you cannot join the November one, we have the next one in January, in 21st to 27. And it's selling out fast, so better get going. And the last one, besides we love entrepreneurship, business, personal development, we also love to party. So, therefore, we have Hubud Halloween Party, which will be happening next week, 4th of November instead of 31st of October, because why not? And so basically, this is a costume party where people just come, be scary, with the costume. But you can also come if you feel that you're scary enough by being yourself, so you just come. We will welcome you with open arms. It will be fun. If you think like, I want to come, but I'm not scared, you can also come. So join us in the party, 4th November. The tickets is up. Go to our website to buy the tickets. And so basically, that's a quick introduction about Ubud. Okay. So basically, we have our Facebook page, Hubud with co-working space. Like our Facebook page, follow our Instagram on Ubud Bali. And if you have any questions for the program or events, you can always talk to me afterwards. I'll be happy to help you. And also Cassie over there, our business development manager, you can also... Okay, she's shy, right? So you can also talk to her about the programs about this. Okay, thank you so much for your attention. I think I'm bored you. You bored me, so I'm heading over to Vito, so enjoy the night.
Well, yeah, thank you, Kintan. So basically, if you want to come to Hubud, feel free to come. We're over 24 hours. I'm always there. I practically live there. Me and Kintan, we actually are housemates, but we never see each other at home. We always see each other at Hubud, so it's been ironic, but yeah, this is a really cool place, so come and check out. So, our next speaker is Rizky Mosmart. So, Rizky Mosmart, or usually called Eki, is the founder of Fight, a comic magazine established in 2015. He is the writer, editor, illustrator, and publisher of Masyarakat Comic Indonesia. He is currently creating 8 historical comics for elementary to high school students in conjunction with the Indonesian Ministry of Education and Culture. Please give a warm welcome to Eki.
Thank you very much, Vito. First of all, good evening, everybody. I'm very honored to be invited here. It's my first time joining the Ubud Writers and Readers Festival. And as you know, my name is Rizky Ronaldi Mosmart. Sounds weird, but it's my real name. And I'm quite proud of it. I'm the most smart people in my class. It's actually an abbreviation from my father's name, so I don't want to bore you with that. Okay, we can, before we start, usually I talk about Indonesian comics, because I kind of activist of Indonesian comic. I try to make Indonesian comics as popular as Japanese comic in Indonesia. But since this year's theme is origin, I want to make it more personal. So this is my first time talking about these topics. I don't want to bore you with the history of Indonesian comics. So this is a kind of history of my journey as a comic artist. Start from the very beginning. So we all was fetus before. And sorry if I draw too sketchy. It's drawn yesterday. So we were, before we were born, we have our parents with their own DNA, with their own characteristics. So I was the first son of my fathers and mothers. And my father was a journalist, and my mother was, what do you call, hipsters. It's before it was cool, my mother was a hippie. I will tell you more about my mother. So she play music, she draws, she do sculptures, she basically do anything creative. That's what my mother when she was young, before she met my father, and before I was born, of course. So that's my mother, and I end up becoming an artist. But there's a challenge. My grandfather was an army man, so that's two different worlds apart. All the girls, all the daughters have to be a nurse, and all the boys have to be army men also. So there's a huge challenge. My mother finally fed up and go rogue, left the house, becoming a street performer in Indonesia. You know, street performers in Indonesia is only one level from beggar. So that's how hipsters my mother was. She go around other cities. My mother was born in Surabaya, but she went to Jogja, she went to Solo, even to Jakarta doing the music. So when she found out that I like to draw, of course she was very happy. So, hey, my son is like to doing some art. So this is where the challenge began for me. Because my mother get a challenge from his father, so my mother pushed me into every competition that we can find. So I spent my childhood every week going competition to other competition. Sometimes in one Sunday we do 3 competition, drawing competition. So that's my childhood since I was 5 years old. And it's hard. I have to train. I cannot say I lost my childhood, but I spent my childhood like Friday, Saturday, you have to prepare for the competition, you have to do sketches, you have to do the practice coloring, you have to find out the competition team, so you draw. And my mother is not that kind of soft teacher, she's very nice on tough love. So sometimes she hit me with broomstick, sometimes she put chili on my lips if I don't draw. You know, if my mother was parenting now, maybe she will get viral in the social media, right? It's child abuse. But so I'm fine. I end up becoming an artist. So all those hard work paid off. But that's my story. So after all those hard work, of course I win a lot of competition. That's part of my small house with a lot of trophies. Yeah. Imagine every week from 5 years to 15 years old. I once got a trophy when I was this tall, and the trophy is this big. So it was a bit fun. So I automatically end up becoming an artist. So I do my own comic titles, and since I fed up with learning arts, so I took philosophy on college. Because everybody asking me, why you take philosophy? At that same year, maybe some of you know, Dian Sastro also joining the philosophy. So everybody think that I joined a philosophy class because of Dian Sastro. So I also publish my own comics. This is not my own comics, but I help another comic artist to publish their titles. So this is one of my biggest success and biggest failure. And when I found out that my daughter also drawing, our house wall when she was 1.5 years old. I made a promise for myself that okay, my daughter is gonna be an artist. So I made a promise for myself that I don't want to be like my mom. So that's the first promise when I see my daughter, because I don't know if it's grudge or it is a sadness or a trauma. I don't know what it is, but that's strangely that's my first promise to myself. I don't want to be like my mom. So we live in the different part of Jakarta. With my mother in Bekasi, it's east of Jakarta. I live in Bogor. So one day I saw Facebook page. My mother lately becoming very active in Facebook. So I just found out that weird thing that my mother's now doing a batik design. I knew it from Facebook because we live in a different city. And she's now becoming official batik designer of our hometown of Bekasi. So that's strangely, suddenly, make you a bit proud, a bit strange, because my mother is in her mid-60s and she's learning something new. She never did watercolor. Her preference always oil painting and crayons. And suddenly she joined the community of artists with all those young peoples. I saw it on Facebook. So, end up, I don't want to be like my mom, but I am my mother, because she is a teacher and I also a teacher. So I cannot give you a conclusion about why I don't want to be like my mom, but end up I am my mother. I teach kids, I teach art, and somehow that's the origin of why I cannot leave this world, or a comic world. Indonesian comic is not very famous, but I spent 15 years to do comic publishing. I spent money and got nothing back, because you know how publishing industry nowadays with paper printing, we have to battle the Marvel, we have to battle the Japanese comics. But I think that's all because of my childhood and my mom. Thank you very much.
I love the story because it's the opposite of what normally happens to Asian kids. You know, like we got pushed to do all this science, math, Olympics, and all this kind of stuff, studying everything.
I'm good at that though. Believe me. I just prefer art.
I love your mom, actually. But anyways. Right, so, question.
How about your dad?
How about your dad?
My dad strangely on the sidelines. Always understand that, okay, let my mother dominate, and sometimes we only talk deeply after I become adult. So there's not much of talk about hobby, about the work. My dad just, as long as I'm happy, since all the competition prize got me my first Sega, my first PlayStation, my first bike. Every time I want something, my mother always said, "You join the competition lah. Then you will get." I get my tuition fee from the competition. So I remember that only one time that my father angry about how my mom teaches the kids, but only that one time, because I think it's because my younger brother started to cry. Because we train and we cry is usual. But I forgot, but only one time of all those years.
Other question? Anyone?
Yes. Does your mama want to be like you?
Does your mom want to be like you?
My mom want to be like me, but since I found out that now my mom has a better achievement than me, now I want to be my mom. Because who can top 60 years old women who become official batik designer of my hometown? That's a strange. Now I have a higher gap with my mom. Before, when I start my publishing company, I'm better. No, now my mom to go to Jogja, find the craftsmen, find the batik workshop, stuff like that.
Cool. And also, I think all the presentations that you showed us today, you actually drew it especially for tonight, right?
Yes, and so sorry it was done yesterday, today.
No, it's all okay. Please be good with that. Anyways, well, any more questions? Otherwise, we're going to close it. Yeah, so when and where, what is your program that you're going to do during the Ubud Writers Readers
So
Festival?
the main program is Captivating Comics. That's where I will talk about Indonesian comics. So because yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't talk about Indonesian comics here. Because the main program will be with Sunny Liu and also Miss Rachel Ang and another Indonesian comic artist. That's gonna be a nice talk, I think, because I think the organizer maybe don't have a chance to recognize that Sunny Liu actually just win Eisner Award. And 3 Eisner Award. Eisner Award is like the Oscar of comic industry. So we have a golden boy here, Eisner Award. So we have a golden boy, and we will talk a lot about comics, and especially in Southeast Asia.
All right. Well, thank you, Eki.
Thank you very much.
Right. Very cool. So. And our next speaker, Paula Constant. Paula has walked 12,000 kilometers through England, France, Spain, Portugal, Morocco, Mauritania, Mali, and Niger. From 2005 to 2007, Paula walked over 7,000 kilometers through the Sahara with her own camel until she was halted by the civil war in Niger. Her 2 books are Slow Journey South and Sahara. She currently lives in Perth and is writing her first novel. Please give a warm welcome to Paula Constant.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, and thank you so much for having me tonight. I guess you can just hear it. So, several years ago, I did a really long walk through the Sahara with my own camels, as you just heard, and wrote 2 books about it. But I don't want to talk about that tonight. I speak about that a lot. What I want to speak instead on, given that we're speaking about origins, is something that goes a lot more deeply for me and had its origins before the walk. And it's around this concept of failure. A crippling sense of inadequacy, if you like, and fear that dogged me. Now, failure is a really dirty word, so I like to get it out of the way right at the beginning. But I felt like I was inherently an unsuccessful person. What I didn't realize is that fear itself was a seed, and that I could choose to plant another one. Now, society, particularly at the moment, antidote to fear is to get us all to aspire to greatness in some way. And there's a whole industry, as we all know, that's grown up around encouraging one to become great. But a problem comes when we can't separate the great experience from the great outcome. And when we tie our own experience of success to a successful outcome or a successful experience. The Sahara was indeed a really great way for me to be dealing with my huge fear. Let's take a huge challenge. But at the same time, the great experience that it was became overshadowed for me when it was ended prematurely by a crippling sense, again, of failure. And in the years since, I've come to think a lot about success as seeds. When I look at these, and not just success, our own ideas of success, when I look at these, any one of them has the potential to flower, but not all of them do. Just like our ideas. Why is that? There are biological and botanical reasons, which I'll go into a little bit later. But internally, I like to think of it as something called the flip. And this is the simple reality. The only thing that changes the seed of an idea, in my case, the seed of the idea to walk through the Sahara, to becoming action, measurable action, is a decision that I can, and I will. And the moment that we have measurable action, we have something to talk about, we have a success to work with. Now, I used to often talk about the hardships and the obstacles that I overcame doing the walk, all the prickles and the snow and the difficulty. But the reality is the greatest obstacle I faced was before that, and it was the horrible sense of fear that I simply couldn't do it. Growth inhibitors, if you Google this, you can't find a picture of them in relation to seeds, and I think this is hilarious. It's because they're really nasty, subconscious little bastards. They're invisible. And they don't show up, just as they don't in the seed. They sit underneath the surface and they bother us. And they lead us to ask this horrible question. If you'll excuse my language, it pretty much comes down to what the fuck is wrong with me? Why do I feel like this? Why can't I get an idea off the ground? What is wrong? And we go back to this industry that has been constructed to help us to understand what it is that's wrong with us. And we put all of this energy, resources, money and time into understanding why we can't do something, which is a tremendous waste of time. And I'm an expert at this. Over the years, I've done everything from flamenco to yoga to dancing to Zen to Zoroastrianism, you name it, I've studied it in an effort to understand why the hell I couldn't get off my arse and take action. Why the hell I couldn't seem to achieve what it was that I really wanted to achieve. And in reality, understanding a seed or a seed understanding itself is not going to make it grow. Ultimately, it grows, one chooses to grow, or one stagnates. And there comes a point where the only way out of that paradigm is to simply say, you know what, fuck it, I will. And this was the point that I got to. Beginning is an incredible thing. It was one of the hardest things I ever did. But when I'm asked years later, what is the one thing you would change? Would you change your equipment, the way, the route you took, how you learned your languages, what would you do? I would say, no, the thing I would change is how long it took me to make the decision to begin. That is the only time wasted. Once you plant a seed, once you take measurable action on something you love and something that you feel passionate about, you are succeeding. You are creating an experience of success, no matter what your outcome is. Once you divorce what you're doing from that outcome, you are having an incredible experience. And this is what I want to cultivate. Recently I made this book cover because for the last 10 years I've had a dream of a novel that I really want to write. I had the idea in the desert. And I've been terrified about writing. Crippled by the same fears I always was. And ultimately I got to a point and I thought, how did I ever manage to get guts up to walk through the Sahara? What happened to me? What did I do? What was the process? What was the missing piece? What am I missing right now that won't allow me to start this process? And I thought back to when I was planning the Sahara and I remember waking up one night with this shaky compulsion that I had to act right now. And later on that year, this was last year, I was walking on Camino de Santiago in Spain, which I often do if I need to think. And it suddenly occurred to me, that's it. I just decided I can, so do I really want this? And I thought my answer to that is absolutely yes. I've wanted this all my life. All I ever wanted to do is write historical fiction. I thought, well then, you better bloody well start. So I did. And for the last 12 months, I've written 1,000 words every single day, and I've researched everything because my decision was, I don't care how this book gets published, whether it's me, if there's a publisher out there, please take it, but if they don't, I will do it myself. And my decision was that I need to research everything about self-publishing and marketing and all that horrible stuff that I've avoided all my life. And a year later, I've got my huge epic romantic saga that I'm incredibly proud of, set in 7th century Spain. I can give you the whole blurb, and I love it. Ultimately, I can go on about seeds and flips and growth inhibitors and missing pieces, but there's one simple reality if we want to have a beautiful experience of success in life and in anything we achieve. It comes down to this one question. Do you believe that what you love and what you dream of is possible? And if the answer to that question is yes, then there's only one decision you have to make. And that is, what action am I going to take to achieve it? Because the moment you're taking action, you're living your own version of success. And to brutally misquote Goethe, as he often is, the poor sod in this circumstance, whatever you dream of, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Thank you, Paula. Does anyone have a question? Yes.
Why did you walk the Sahara?
Why did you walk the Sahara?
Well, it probably had something to do with that huge fear. But actually, I was fascinated by the Sahara, I was fascinated by the movement. If anybody was at the panel today, I apologize because I've already said this once, but I was fascinated by the movement of cultures across Northern Africa. I was obsessed with the way that Bedouin live in that environment. I still am, and I wanted to live in a natural environment and to move as they move, to do the entire thing on foot, and to have that experience of living exactly as the people did in that particular environment. And it surpassed all of those expectations.
Other question? Yeah.
Hi, Paula.
Hi.
I want to ask two questions. Hello. It's.
Where am I looking? Sorry.
That's
Gotcha. Yep.
Yep. Why it's up? What was your biggest fear, and what is your biggest fear now? So it's then and now. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. My biggest fear simply was that it took me years to work it out. All of that industry to work it out probably, but my biggest fear simply was that I was inadequate in some really fundamental way, that somehow I just wasn't good enough, that anything I dreamed of I wouldn't be able to bring to fruition. I've discovered that for me, the way to resolve those fears is just by starting to do whatever it is I'm terrified of. So now I don't really have fears, because I guess the best thing I can say is that whenever I hit one, I just start doing whatever it is that I'm really afraid of, or I look at it and say, my only fear really lies within myself. So as soon as I confront that and take action, I'm okay. That's my way through it. It's not everybody's, but it's been mine.
Yeah, question?
It was very inspiring talk. Like hit close in the home. So I have a question. Like, beginning is easy, but keep on moving on is hard. Do you have any little tips on that?
When I give this talk as a longer talk, one of the things I talk about is the importance of making that flip many times. So anytime I have a 5-point process I go through, but anytime I hit an obstacle, anytime I hit the point, because we all do, when you think, well, this is just too hard and I need to give up, and anything you do, you come to that. Again, I go back to the question of, well, is it possible? And do I want it? Sometimes the answer is I don't want it, and in which case I walk away. Other times it's yes, it's possible, it's just really hard. But if it's possible, then it's just a matter of finding a route through it. So they're my two options I come to.
I think that's it. So thank you so much, Paula. For Ubud Writers Readers Festival, what's the program you're doing?
Okay, so most of my events are out of the way today, so I'm off to have a really huge gin. But I have one more tomorrow, one last panel tomorrow, which is the walking cure, which I can't wait to talk about. So.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Right, before I continue to our last speaker, actually Paula's talk reminded me that we also have an event called PechaKucha Nights, or we call it Fun. So it's also a platform for you to also share your failure, your fuck up. I'm sorry for if it sounds harsh, but so because failure is cool, and then it's a journey to success as well. So we would like more people to share their failure. So if you have done any failure, fuck up, please come to us, and we can also put you in one of our events. Anyways. And also, before I end the show with our last speaker, I just want to say thank you again for my team. Would like to thank you Faisal, Kashfi, Cynthia, Leonie, Maureen, Iris, Maria, Kinton, Carmen, and Esa. I know we have a big thing for this event, so thank you so much for all. Can you please tackle them? Thank you. All right, so our last speaker is Trinity. So Trinity is Indonesia's leading travel writer with 13 national best-selling books, including the Naked Traveler series, which was adapted into the feature film Trinity, the Naked Traveler. Her blog, nakedtraveler.com, has inspired many young Indonesians to travel. Previously, she was a literary translator, regular contributor to Yahoo Travel, and host of the Naked Traveler on MNC Food Travel Channel. So please help me to welcome Trinity.
Wait. It's honor to be here. This is my third time actually in Ubud Writers Festival, but my first time doing this PechaKucha thing. It's the most stressed out of things, and then it's my first time with the dress. What do you think? Okay, let's do this. Okay, the story started when I was in Belfast in June. I was traveling alone and I met some guys, and then one of the guys asked me, why don't we go to Amsterdam? I said, I cannot because I don't have a Schengen visa, I don't have Netherlands visa. And the other guy asked me also, why don't you go to Dublin with me? I have a house there. I said, I cannot because I don't have an Irish visa. So it's very complicated if you're Indonesian, having Indonesian passport. I remember my first passport when I was in high school. I went to Singapore, and my passport says, you can enter any country in the world except Israel. I was like, oh, why? So this is Indonesian passport with the green cover on it. Why it's green is because most Islamic state in the world has a green passport, while EU has a burgundy or Caribbean has a blue, but this is Indonesia. It's green because they say it's a favorite color of Prophet Muhammad. And then with the Indonesian passport, we can only go to 24 countries for visa-free in the world. Yay! So you can see in the map, it's more gray than the green. Yeah, it's unfair. While on the other hand, there are 169 countries can go to Indonesia visa-free. So this is the hardest slides I make because I put every country. It's unfair. Yeah, it's basically it's not reciprocal because it's so much factors in it. So maybe because Indonesia is a poor country. No, Indonesia is one of the member country of G20. G20 is an association of economic forum that 85% of gross world product are in these 20 countries. But sadly, Indonesia cannot go with visa free to any of the member of G20. According to Passport Index, Indonesia has ranks number 64 together with Zimbabwe and Dominican Republic. The first rank is Germany and Singapore, yeah, and the last is Afghanistan. It's based on the most countries that you can visit for visa free. Probably it's because we have so much population. Now we have 261 million. And then that's why also China and India has a lower passport index than Indonesia. So they are afraid that the high influx of Indonesian can be illegal alien. So, me having Indonesian passport, I need to apply visa to almost every country in the world. So basically the requirement is we need to have return flight tickets, proof of accommodation, proof of sponsorship letter, proof of a bank statement and all that. Sometimes I lie, I become Pinocchio because I cannot, book or pay accommodation before I get the visa. So I just make a dummy, I'm sure the embassy knows about it. It's just a formality, like, yeah, and then we have to go back and forth to the embassy like many times. Okay, let me tell you a story. When I was in Cyprus, I was flying from Jakarta to Dubai 8 hours, transit for 8 hours, and when I was about to board the plane, they kicked me out of the plane because I don't have Cyprus visa. I said, yeah, but I showed them the official website of Cyprus tourism says that any country can go, but I cannot. And also in Puno, I was about to go to Bolivia. Puno is in Peru. It's just a spitting distance. But then they asked me a return ticket, flight tickets to Indonesia. Well, I'm already in Puno. And then the most bizarre requests are, I have to have a proof of good conduct issued by the police headquarters, legalized by Ministry of Justice, and translated into Spanish with the Spanish translator. And then the worst thing is in Argentina. I was about to fly from Brazil to Chile and had a transit in Buenos Aires. And I also got kicked off the plane because I don't have visa transit visa. But anyway, Indonesia, with the Indonesian passport, I can go to Cuba. It's one of my most favorite country because the guys are hot. Yeah, well, America cannot go there. Well, apparently the embargo will be lifted up. And also to Iran. For Indonesian passport, we can go there for visa on arrival, just pay the money. And it's also one of the most beautiful countries I've ever visited. And I felt like a celebrity because everybody wants to take picture with me. Cheers. Having Indonesian passport, we also can go to 10 member countries of ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nation. Last month I went to Laos, and then I was having a special lane for in immigration for Indonesian for ASEAN passport, while most of the tourists they have to pay $30, and then with a long queue. So yeah, and then anyway, Indonesia is a very beautiful country. We have more than 17,000 islands. So if you stay one day in one island, you will end up 47 years. And this is my most favorite place. One of the most favorite is Padar Island in Komodo. Despite all of that, I still managed to visit 82 countries in the world, including Israel. But I'm not going to tell you about that. Yeah, and then all the stories of the hassles in having an Indonesian passport, I wrote it in my books, which is in the Naked Traveler series, and it sells. It pays my bill. Yay! Thank you, passport. Anyway, recently, I think a few days ago, Indonesian military chief got denied his visa in US. And then, yeah, who am I? I'm a military chief of Indonesia, got denied in US. But anyway, if travel-wise, you will never see me again. And then I will never be standing here talking to you. Thank you. Sama-sama.
I think a lot of Indonesians adore her for like and all the stories that she wrote about traveling and stuff. And like, how could you actually travel with Indonesian passport? Because I asked myself as well, but now it kind of tells like, it's cool. Right. Anyone has questions?
Nobody? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello. So far, what countries trouble you the most as an Indonesian?
Trouble me.
Like in visa way.
Oh, I just give my presentation is Argentina, because behind the story about Argentina, I was actually applying from embassy of Argentina, and I got denied just because they say, "Oh, we're busy." That's it, and then all the documents, you know, you have to have because I plan to stay there for a month, and I got the sponsorship from a friend, and then one of the you have to put the itinerary day by day for the next 30 days, and then it's just I don't know. It's just this staff told me, see, if you want to go, the Iguazu, the spelling you have a wrong spelling, or your photocopy is not A4 size, like I don't know. And then after that, I went to before that I went to Brazil, and then I also applied from there, and then it didn't work. So I skipped Argentina. I flew directly to Chile. But then again, I get problem again because I cannot even transit in Argentina. So don't cry for me, Argentina. It's their loss.
There? Sorry, no microphone.
Given the extensive travel that you would have done, why is Padar Island in the Komodos your favourite?
Why is the island?
Padar.
Oh, Padar Island. It's in the Komodo National Park.
Yes, yes. Why is it your favourite?
Oh, okay.
The extensive travel you've done.
It's actually, nobody lives there. It's just a mountain. And when you climb up, the view is very, very amazing. I mean, wow. It's the word breathtaking is literally breathtaking. Like, bagus banget.
Any question? Yeah, over there.
Hello, Mbak Trinity.
Yeah.
As one of the, I think one of the most traveled writer in Indonesia, I'm just curious, what do you think is the top of mind of people outside Indonesia about Indonesia? Probably in one word, like is it Bali? Is it terrorism? Is it chaos? Is it, I don't know, what do you think?
Oh, well, it depends. Like, for example, in South America, like, rarely people know Indonesia. Indonesia, what is that? What is that? It's not even what country or where is that? What is that? If you ask the Americans or, they said, oh, Bali, is it near Guam? Like, what? Is it near Bali? Yeah, it's just one tiny island. And then, but if you said European, usually they've been to Indonesia. They are the ones who travel the most in the world, I think. So they know, especially Australian, like, yeah. But about the terrorists, I don't think so. That nobody ever told me that, or maybe they're afraid of me. Oh, you don't know? I have also. And then yeah, it's just yeah, they know it's an Islamic country. I mean, not Islamic country, but has the most Muslim population in the world. And then yeah. They know Bali more than Indonesia.
We actually have one there, back. Yes, and afterwards.
Thank you for the talk. I enjoy your book. I really enjoy the stories. And one question, like when you travel, what motivates you? What drives you? Why you want to see the country? Like, is it just curiosity that you've never been there, or what is it?
My motivation to travel, I really don't know. Actually, I've been raised. I've been traveling since I was a kid because both my parents are travelers, and they dragged me since I don't know, since toddler babies perhaps. And then when I already be independent and earn my own money, I just cannot stop. And probably because I cannot I hate routines. I cannot stay in one place for too long. So, and I love, I don't know, traveling is weird. I mean, you miss something that never happened before, right? You want to go somewhere that, I don't know, you never know. So, but that's one of the best thing in traveling is when you wake up and then you see the ceiling and it's like, where am I now? Like, wow. So those kind of things I cannot describe, but yeah, I love traveling.
One last question.
I'm lucky enough to have two passports, a French and American passport, and I think your point of view is very interesting. My question is, which will be your next country?
Okay.
The 84th?
No, the 84th. Okay. Actually, after Ubud Writers, I'm going to Madrid, and then and I'm gonna stay in Europe for 1 month, which I don't know where I might going to go or to do. I haven't planned anything. I'm a mess. I don't plan anything. So probably you have input or something. But my next number of country probably Denmark. I don't know why I've never been to Denmark, although I've been to everywhere in the world, in Europe. But then Denmark, because I have a friend there and I want to visit. I was like, yeah, why not? I haven't been to Denmark. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Oh yeah, true. I forgot to ask. So when? Sorry, conversation. But what program are you doing for Ubud Writers Readers Festival?
Okay, my session will be on Saturday at 10 o'clock in NECA Museum. Is NECA Museum? Yeah. NECA, talking about postcard from the page. So with some other travel writers. So we're going to sharing a bit about how to deal the travel and everything.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that is all. Thank you so much for coming. There will be music as well in the courtyard. You can meet all the speakers after. Thank you and see you in the next PechaKucha. Can I have the speakers to come on stage? I would like to take photos. Thank you.